timing it very well, Moschino. If you're watching, Moschino, thank you very much for perfect Twitch synergy. That's a word. You're timing your games very well with like just when we're looking for the next table. Queen Jack suited will be a 3-bit jam if we get a button open. If it's a button shove, I think we'll just fold. But it was easy 3-bit jam now. Alright. Not the best results, but fair enough. It can happen. Professor says, recently I was working on a lot of isopods and I was surprised how much donking there is in blind spots when we're out of position. Yeah, that's definitely one where I think there's a lot of people miss them for sure. So like, especially those middling kind of boards, if I remember off the top of my head, where you see a ton of donking and like, it's really easy not to do it. And then especially when you find donking spots, just having that knowledge is helpful because it also helps you play them in position. So you think, does my opponent have donks in this situation? Like, I know he should in theory, but if he doesn't, how does that impact then my in-position play? And that makes has a bigger impact than you think. So that same button versus big blind on the 765 rainbow, again, we're using that as our go-to donk spot. If you know your reg doesn't donk, or know your opponent doesn't donk, suddenly you should be much more careful about c-betting the GTO range, because the new GTO c-bet is a lot lower than the old GTO c-bet, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's making sense, but it's definitely really interesting when you see when you learn more about those donking spots, and that just takes time. There's no shortcut to that. You just have to go through different boards and understand. You can do some really interesting stuff with like Google Sheets and get lists of stuff, GTO Plus, GTO Base, all these sort of things. We'll have like rankings of flops where you can see which flops are the most donked or the least donked. Compare that to equities, etc., etc. You gain a more broader understanding than. I think trying to hammer out individual spots is a bit difficult. Understanding the broader themes is perhaps better, and also allows you to then apply them to more situations. Because if you understand that donking's about equity, and then you think, well, my recreational friend's playing any two cards, well, suddenly, in theory, the donking spots will change dramatically, depending on, because equity is very different, right? In those spots. We'll start with Olympia with Ace-Jack suited. He's been a little bit aggro, pre and post. Good board. So he's been donking a bunch, but he did donk and then fold, so we don't have any reason to think that his donks are necessarily only value. And so, weirdly enough, the more he bluffs, the more he's actually got value on this board when he doesn't donk, which may include some 7x. So now the 7x is not bad for us. Obviously, it's bad if he's got 7-5 or 10-7, but if he's got a hand like 5-8, 5-9, 7-8, 7-9, they're now 5x of diamonds. Whatever, they're all going to feel pretty compelled just to call along. I'm going to go 2.6. I will be just calling off any river. He wanted to avoid an 8 or a 9 or a diamond, and there's the 9 of diamonds. God. I mean, we're not folding because of the price we're getting. It's ridiculous, but wow, is that a bad river, huh? All right. We sized it so we couldn't have to fold, but yeah. Jeez. That's a sad one. I'm normally pretty stoic in spots, but I was sad about that. We'll call the pocket fours. See, in those situations, you can be like, maybe I should jam turn. You know what I mean? It's whatever. Like, he's got 2 5s. 3 8s, 4 9s. So he will hit 9 outs 18% of the time, and then 80% of the time we lose our stack. But 82% of the time, we probably, I don't know if he check folds river, but probably just calls off because of the size we got. So yeah, I think it's fine. Sinead says, oh, that's cool. By the way, you said you're going to have some more info about your coaching this year. So, Sinead, we're changing it slightly. Yeah. No Patreon, unfortunately. We'd love to continue here, but against this sizing, we can't do that much. And I think this sizing is just a 5x or flush draw, basically, that we just have to be sort of side-fold. So, not much we can do, unfortunately. We obviously don't fold 6s plus and ace-x, and we bet all those and king off ushers and whatnot. We will go for an ISO. We haven't ISO'd him yet with a bluff, so I think it's a good time to actually throw in an ISO. My randomizer says ISO 2. The hand is a reasonable choice. He did ISO 10 for off, if anyone remembers. So we're going to pay it back. Alright, we get gem on. Fair enough. It's quite nice, that little stream. In case I miss someone, I can very quickly see who it is. Ben Holtman and Baregi. We appreciate you both. Hope you're both doing well. We flopped a little open-ender here. We've now flopped an open-ender with a straight flush. Some 4x definitely in his range. If we bet, we definitely might face some raises there. If we face raise, difficult to say what to do. I'm going to start with a probe nonetheless. Check raising doesn't make sense, I don't think. Yeah, not sure. Be interesting. We get called. It'll be interesting if we brick what to do. Whether we want to actually bluff this candidate or not. I mean, on the one hand, it's 5 high, right? And so my hand's kind of shitty. On the other hand, would be a bit of a poor hand candidate, but I'm not sure. Not sure. We'll start with a call here with 9 suited. So some value in our opponent's range, some bluffs in our opponent's range. We know that. Flop and open a straight drop and a backdoor flush drop. He went 2.5 or something like that, half pot, with 10-4 off on a similar board. I think it was a paired board though. So he goes 2.5 again, definitely could be value. Let's see. We'll test the balance of this. I'm guessing queens. And I just want to put a guess in. I'm thinking queens. But let's see. Aces. So, yeah, I mean, not much we can do there. Go back to everything. Gonzalo, my friend, thank you so much, mate. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the subscription. 5 months you've been hanging around. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't believe it. 5 months, Gonzalo. That's mental, that is. Hope you're doing well, mate. And thank you once again. Gracios says, how to check the pre-flop EV of a session of PT4. You can go to more filters, add filter, actions opportunities, pre-flop calls, went all in. And that will show you every all in that you that got called, basically, or you called an all in or anything. So this would be filtered there. If you shove and you get a fold, it wouldn't count there. It would just be the all-ins where you had equity, or not equity, but yeah, every all-in you have equity, so yeah, it will show you those. Quick temp, we'll go for a jam. That's a straight. I shot at 25s on New Year's PokerStars, but only to 18 chip V. Felt like I couldn't do much better. It's not bad. Certainly, there's nothing to feel too ashamed about for 18 chip V. You know, better than below 0, right? So always stuff to work on there. That's the thing. I think the thing is not to don't focus on stuff that's out of your control. Focus on stuff that's in your control, right? And that's the main thing to worry about. So these are ridiculous because like they're 3.6 BB effective, and you think, oh, okay, it's not much, but it's we're now playing for stacks, so we're actually playing more than stacks. So this is like EV wise, all these spots are about $700 EV for a stack here. So if this happens, it's quite sad. But it doesn't matter. It's all about the long run. Fro says it's a weird dynamic with blind v blind ISO spots because very few people donk enough, but also when thinking about betting the donking range, you've got to keep in mind that vast majority of people oversee bet boards you want to be donking on. Exactly. I mean, that's a weird thing. So I guess it comes down to how much protection you need hands at a given SPR. Absolutely right. It's a very weird, like, when you think about that, there's so much to it. There's also, for example, the actual ranges that you are up against. And so, I wanted to win that one. It would have been a good one to win because I think heads up is the value here, and we've only managed to do it once, unfortunately, which is sad. But we'll keep. I've got another game registered, but we'll just keep an eye on what's going on here, just for you, out of interest. So yeah, I think also on top of that, Prefer Whiskey, you have to think also the ISO range, right? And so the ISO ranges will have a big impact too. If people are under bluffing or over bluffing, that will really impact the donking range. If people change not even that, but the different style of hands that they use. And so you can understand why people typically under donk, because it's such an impossible spot to figure out. But at least having knowledge there can be helpful. And so, for example, if the board is 10-8-7 and you know that people should be donking about 45% there or something, and people don't, well, then now you have a decision where you're like, okay, well, maybe I need to drop the C bet, especially my bluff C bets. But maybe I'm just going to keep my value C bets and be a bit weighted towards that. It's incredibly delicate. I mean, all these sort of things, and I also think it's one of the challenges when people are trying to play a GTO strategy is it sort of misrepresents a lot of what poker is, which is ranging your opponents, and they don't have perfect insight into your range, and you don't have perfect insight into their range, but you can make some assumptions. And let's say, for example, you think someone, you've never seen them check raise, you've never seen them bluff river, you've never seen them ISO heads up. It's a good chance they're going to under ISO bluff three-handed, and then all of a sudden, okay, well, if that's the case, I probably shouldn't donk so much if they're only value betting. Only value icing, sorry. What happened there? So Muskino just got bored and stuck in 8-3 off, it looks like. Yeah, I think the heads up is where the value's at.